We're part of the Fair Funerals campaign, and the Fair Funerals campaign is campaigning for the end of funeral poverty. So in this country at the moment, 1 in 6 people are facing serious debt and financial problems just trying to lay their loved one to rest. We've held a funeral procession today in Parliament Square because we're calling on the Chancellor Philip Hammond to increase the funeral fund for people who are on very low income. So the funeral fund was set up in the 80s to cover the cost of a basic funeral. That fund was capped in 2003. The fund has shrunk, so now it only covers 40% of a basic funeral. So they're looking at huge poverty and debt as a result of that. In the 5th richest country in the world, it's absolutely unacceptable that people who are on low incomes should be worried about being able to grieve with dignity and lay their loved one to rest. So we're calling on the Chancellor Philip Hammond to increase the funeral fund. The average grant now is around about £1,400. What we're saying is that needs to increase with inflation. After that, it needs to increase every year with inflation, so it's not allowed to fall behind. We're not talking about huge amounts of money here. This is a small amount of government expenditure, and we think it's a very small amount to pay to actually create a safety net for grieving people that our country can be proud of. Don't wait until you're grieving to start thinking and talking to your family about funeral costs, because the fact is that when we are grieving, we're not able to act very often as savvy consumers. So unfortunately, we can end up spending more than we can afford on funerals. And trying to navigate the system of being able to ask for charities and to the government for help is really, really difficult. Go out, have a look at different funeral directors in your area, think about what kind of a funeral you want and how you would like to pay for it, and crucially talk to your family about that. Most of us really don't want our families to get into debt paying for our funeral, and mostly, we tend to be quite happy with these days with a simpler funeral. But because we don't have that conversation with our family, then that information is never conveyed. Talking about death can feel really, really scary, but it's far, far better that people accept the fact that, unfortunately, death will come to all of our families, and to really try and tackle this issue now in a way that we can talk to our families about it in a way that kind of feels safe, and we can hopefully try and avoid our families getting into severe debt further down the line.